We will now call this March 19th, 2024 Joliet Township High School Board meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Sure. Mrs. Lynn? Here. Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Here.
Dr. Huntington?
Here.
Mr. Coffey?
Here.
Mrs. Stiff?
Here.
Mr. Kennedy? Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Here.
Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Forward, colors. Forward, march. March time, march. Right turn, march. Pull the guard, pull. Post. 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 Present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Post. March time, march. Right turn, march. Forward, march.
Thank you. You may be seated. On behalf of the Board of Education, we would like to extend a hearty welcome to our in-person guests as well as those streaming right now. Sorry. No, there are no public comments?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with our agenda. Our consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I'll make a motion. I'd ask that we pull Hopewell and Himes-Pacheco for separate voting.
Can I get a?
Second?
No, amend it. Amend the motion.
May I please amend the motion
Yes. Pull out
to
Hopewell.
pull out Hopewell and
Himes-Pacheco.
Himes-Pacheco? I apologize.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Can I get a clarification? Are we voting on the overall consent or the amended,
We are pulling out Hopewell and Himes-Pacheco, so that'll be the next motion.
thank you. Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes. May I have a motion for Hopewell and Himes-Pacheco?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Abstain?
Mr. Coffey?
Thank you. We will now go to item 6, recognition and awards.
Thank you. I ask that Mr. Millsaps come forward and begin our recognition.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
High tech. Thank you, members of the board, Superintendent Guzman. It's my honor to be here tonight. We had some really good things happen within our athletic department. I'm going to start off with our first team honor. It's my honor and privilege to recognize our state champion girls, or Joliet West girls bowlers, to tonight's school board meeting. On February 17th, 2024, the Joliet West girls bowling team won its second state championship in school history with a 12,223 pinfall. The Tigers cemented their championship by last game 11-48. In the IHSA, there are only so many plaques, trophies that you can win. These girls were back-to-back conference champions, back-to-back regional champions, back-to-back sectional champions, and state champs with the last year's second place runner-up. For this season, that's a perfect season of excellence and eliteness. Members of the team, when I call your name, if you could please come up here. The 2024 Joliet West High School Girls Bowling State Champions consists of freshman Gianna Mendoza. Sophomore Emily Michon. Sophomore Mallory Berry. Sophomore Samantha French. Sophomore Mia Antemez with an IHSA fifth place finish. Mia's not here tonight because she's playing in soccer tonight. Senior Libby Voss. Senior Gracie French. Senior Ella Stanky with an IHSA All-State fourth place finish. Assistant coach Hannah Jaros. And our head coach bringing up the state championship trophy, Mr. John Lizio.
I invite parents and family to come on up as well. Stay there, please. Congratulations.
Next, it's my honor and privilege to recognize our second place medalist in IHSA girls wrestling, Eliana Paramo, tonight's JTHS school board meeting. Eliana Paramo, a senior at Joliet West, has demonstrated exceptional skill, dedication, and leadership as a member of our girls wrestling program. Eliana's journey in wrestling is nothing short of inspiring, marked by an outstanding accomplishment such as fifth place finish in the inaugural IHSA girls wrestling state championship in 2022. Followed by consecutive runner-up second place finishes in 2023 and 2024. Notably, she surpassed the 100 career win milestone this season, a testament to her unwavering commitment and talent. Eliana's impact extends beyond the mat. She played a pivotal role in the formation of our first ever girls wrestling team and has left a permanent mark on her teammate and coaches with her leadership and toughness. Please join me in a round of applause celebrating Eliana's extraordinary contributions along with our head coach, Coach Liz Short. Please welcome them.
I was like, what are you doing over there?
All right. Congratulations.
Next, it is my honor and privilege to recognize our third place medalist in IHSA boys wrestling, Carson Weber, to tonight's JTHS school board meeting. Carson Weber, a Joliet West junior wrestler for the Tigers, has demonstrated exceptional skill, dedication, and leadership as a member of our boys wrestling team. Last season saw Carson just miss out of a medal. This season, you can see Carson was on a redemption tour. On the season, Weber finished 42-2. The third place finish was the highest placement for a Joliet West wrestler since 1992. Please join me in a round of applause along with head coach Chuck Rumpf in celebrating Carson's extraordinary contributions to our athletic community. Congratulations, Carson. Next, it is my honor and privilege to recognize Daniel Sanchez, who finished third place at the IHSA State Finals for speech in the category of original comedy. Daniel, who is a senior and a leader on the speech team at Joliet West, capped off an incredibly successful year for the Joliet West speech team with his third place finish at the state tournament. This team, under the direction of Miss Kristen Blake, completed an undefeated contest season ahead of the IHSA State Series. The culmination of the season was qualifying 4 events, 2 performed by Daniel for the state competition. We at Joliet West are thrilled to be able to celebrate Daniel's success with the board meeting this evening, and if you could please congratulate Coach Kristen Blake and Daniel Sanchez. Congratulations.
We want to thank each and every one of you for your participation in the extracurricular activities. We know that a lot of time is spent in with that activity, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication and motivation. So we thank you guys for all that you've done. And while we're on the category of recognition, we also want to recognize Miss Takara Parker, because today is her birthday. And so we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we're going to come out to you all and congratulate you. Thank you. Okay, so we can resume with our agenda. We're going to go to action item 7, superintendent's report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I am not. I think now it's on. Thank you. No correspondence or legislative report. So the first item on the agenda is the public hearing for the fund balance transfer.
All right. I need a motion for public hearing for a fund balance transfer.
I'll second.
Order calling a public hearing concerning the intent of the Board of Education of Township High School District 204, Will County, Illinois, to transfer $34,562,945 from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and $21,062,900 from the Transportation Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund.
Should be some more to that, right?
That's it?
Let me finish it.
That's just for the hearing.
Oh, that's just for the hearing. Yeah. So this is the opportunity for the public to make comments.
Yep. And you need roll call to open the hearing.
Yep. Roll call, please.
Sure. Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
And we'll take questions, comments.
Hearing none, you can close the hearing.
Yep. Hearing none. May I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Thank you. We have two presentations this evening. So the first presentation is our 2024-25 staffing presentation. This is an annual presentation, and Mrs. McDonald will be presenting. And I just want to thank Mrs. McDonald, working alongside with our assistant principals, Mr. Tino Villaflor and Mr. Matt Narducci, who basically locked themselves in rooms to determine the needs of the district in terms of staffing for next year.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for acknowledging the team. And there's many layers to this team, and it actually starts actually during first semester. So there's a lot of people that are involved as we sit down and look at our recommendations for the 24-25 school year. So I'm going to start off with fall housing. Fall housing gives us a small picture of where we are with student enrollment. Fall housing is captured in October, and this is the information that we communicate to ISBE, so that snapshot in October. So if you look at the trend data, we have been growing in a manageable fashion over the last several years. This year we did see a small decline at the West Campus compared to, like they've switched, so now Central's a little higher than West. And we use this information to help us make projections for the upcoming school year. So the FTE request for 24-25 is based on students, our enrollment and course requests. This shows you trend data from the 18-19 school year up to 24-25. Just a few things to point out is that last year when I came to the board in March, I also came back to the board in October to ask for an additional 1.0 FTE. So in March of 2023, we asked for a 456.5, and I came back in October for an additional FTE to support the newcomer students that were impacting both campuses. So starting off with 457, I am formally asking for an additional 3.1 for the 24-25 school year. Some of the reasons why that increase is that we are in need of an additional speech pathologist due to student needs within their IEPs, the expansion of the CE program, which Dr. Guzman has brought to the board for previous approval of the course, and also we also have people on the board of the CEO organization. And again, the continuation of growth in our bilingual and special education areas. So right now, we're projected enrollment district-wide for about 6,600 students, but we know that can change. And even though the fall housing report is in October, that our numbers change daily with students entering and exiting our campuses. So I'm gonna start off with, I'm not gonna read everything on this slide. It's in the board packet, and I'll just highlight some areas that I think are worthy to discuss. So we'll always start off with our upcoming retirements, and I'll have this at the end of the presentation as well. This gives us a potential projection of what we would need for the next school year. So we do have an administrator retiring this upcoming the new school year, 8 teachers. So this will be a big group that will be retiring, and a school psychologist. And then the next few slides, I want to point out where we are with how many FTE that we have in each areas. So going into the 24-25 school year, we will have 42 FTE. Initially, we were 39, and the board approved several meetings ago to add additional 3 FTE. In regards to paraprofessionals, so this is security, the distribution at each campus. We aren't asking for additional FTE, but I want to point out that we are, as of March, when Human Resources pulled this information, we still have 6 unfilled positions. Paraprofessionals that work in the classroom with our students, we have 7 unfilled positions currently right now, 2 at Pathways, 2 at West, and 3 at ABAC. Paraprofessionals at the building level, and they're used throughout the building in different areas. So right now we have 16, and we have 2 unfilled positions in detention and 1 unfilled position school-wide. So you're hearing a trend. Like we as a school board recognize how much FTE, but there are we are unable to fill certain positions still. Office staff, we have 51 FTE dedicated to our office staff district-wide, and something to celebrate is we have no open office positions. Same with our non-bargaining office staff, we have 7 FTE and no unfilled positions. Buildings and grounds, we have 62 full-time equivalencies dedicated to buildings and ground. We do have unfilled positions, so 2 in one is a custodian at Central, and 1 is a maintenance mechanic at West. Cafeteria, we have 43 FTE dedicated, and we do have 2 unfilled positions at Central Campus. This is the hard one, transportation. Just to recognize our bus drivers from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and how much we appreciate them. And it's a great district to work for, but we still have right now 40 unfilled positions. So thank you for the bus drivers that are covering those routes of those unfilled positions. And then our technology team, we have 16 FTE dedicated to this area. We are not requesting additional FTE, and all our positions are filled. And finally, we have other positions that cover specialized areas like our childcare, ISS, our family engagement liaisons, our task force subs, which we hired. So other positions we have are 2 open cafeteria monitors at Central Campus. So that is where, that's where my request for FTE comes in. And you can see the breakdown of how many we have in each area and how many unfilled positions we are currently experiencing. Now, the next couple slides, which I'll go over briefly, our initiatives. So based on our FTE, this is what we can do for our students and staff within our community. And I'll start with something started a long time ago, before I was, it was started, I think 2011? No, what year did Freshman Academy?
I taught in it, so it would have had to be 2006-07 or 2007-08.
Okay, yeah, around there. So that's the extent of how long we've had I just wanted to give how long we've had Freshman Academy and how long we've adequately supported that program. So again, continued initiatives from Freshman Academy to our math support classes, our learning labs, to our co-teaching classes, to our credit recovery programs, to our gateway programs, to our IEP managers, to our transition center, our transition coordinator, our specialized campuses, our programs that we've added during COVID. We expanded our ESL and bilingual program to both campuses. We have an instructional coach at Central Campus dedicated to our ESL bilingual students, same with a social worker. We adopted a new math curriculum during COVID, and we're still going strong. We're in year 2 of advanced algebra, and we're continuing to learn and grow with that new curriculum. Continued again with Catalyst program, which the board had the opportunity to visit last school year. College and career specialists for the first year, which the feedback from those 2 counselors is phenomenal, and the response of the students is even greater. Our social worker that we added at AVAC and Transition Center, we added a deaf and hearing itinerant position this year. Pre-AP at 9th grade, Hampton Algebra, and we brought learning labs and advisory to a stipend position. So what's new for this year? Accelerated placement. So the class of 2028 is automatically accelerated. So we're very excited about that. Working with that new legislation from ISBE, we will be offering pre-AP to our sophomores. So our students will continue on from pre-AP 9 to pre-AP 10. Our JTHS CEO program, and Dr. Guzman presented today at Rotary, which was very exciting to share out with more of the community of what we're doing here. ASL 3, and that came about because we had a student that came to the board and said, hey, and it shows you like our students have voice as well, and then adding our AVID 9 and the AVID 10 elective for next year. So the next part of this presentation, and these are based on conversations. So it's the assistant principals and they go back to the buildings and have conversations, and we talk to curriculum directors, we talk to counselors, and figure out what we can run and what we can't run. So there's a lot of things that come into consideration. We talk about, do we have like teachers that have those credentials that are in need? Or is it an area that we don't have certifications in? So when we think about low enrollment courses, those are courses that have 19 or less students that select that class to take that class for next year. So these are the classes by campus that we've agreed to run even though they're low enrollment. And we've really thought about, is it a capstone class? Is it part of our music program? Is it a world language program? Because if I'm college bound, I want 4 years of a world language, and we don't want to eliminate that 4th year class. So these are the classes that are running at Joliet Central with low enrollment. These are the classes that are running at Joliet West based on low enrollment. So you can see patterns between both campuses: art, music, world language. And these teachers that teach these classes have very specialized practices. These are low enrollment classes that will not run at either campus. So AP Computer Science A, the Teaching in Diverse Environments, just a few classes. So most of the classes that you'll see are running at both campuses. Also, the campuses identify which classes are not going to run. And these are really hard conversations and hard decisions. And sometimes it's very, sometimes you take it's, for teachers, it's very personal because they're very passionate about what they learn. And the students really wanted to take these classes, but we have guidelines that we want to follow when we talk about staffing. So these are the classes that aren't running at Joliet Central, but we have had conversations of how to increase interest moving forward. And sometimes it's patterned. So we've seen them run 1 year and then it goes down the next year. So there are conversations about maybe running certain classes every other year. These are the classes that will not be running at Joliet West. So I'll pause right there. So I went over the FTE that we need for this school year. What's the breakdown of all our groups, and then courses that will be running and not running. Do I want to pause right here?
I just want to add a couple things, then of course if there's any questions, and I just want to do sort of a shout out and a thank you to our staff who are teaching what I'm going to call a stacked course. So during the staffing process, for example, if you look at the numbers, there was an AP, our highest level AP Spanish class. So it's our second year AP class. There were 3 students at West that signed up to take that class. We looked into it. They're all seniors. It would be their 4th year. And, you know, we have staff members that agree to teach that class within another class. And, like, how can we support them doing that? French 3 and 4 is often taught together. It will also happen, like, in a fine arts area sometimes, like, within our art program, like at West Campus. And I could go on at Woods. I mean, I think our Woods teachers every year do this. And so I'm just very thankful to our staff for their flexibility in doing that, because we have other classes we could run, but they understand the importance of those capstone classes and working with students, and that's extra work for them. But hardly ever do our staff members say no, because they really, really, truly, nobody's forced to do that, but they agree because they understand that they don't want kids to miss out on opportunities. So I just want to thank them, the ones that agreed to do it for the first time and the ones that have agreed to do it for 20 years. And so that's part of the discussion too. We have wonderful staff members that try and make sure they're always doing what's best for kids.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, so even the example that Dr. Guzman gave, French 3 and 4, that will be a combined class with 16 students in it, photography 2, and AP Studio Art Photo. We want those classes to run, so they'll be combined and we'll have 16 students in it.
And Diane also said this, but we do look for trends. So and again, through COVID, there's been some different changes that kids used to take this class and now they're not taking this class for whatever reason, different interest, orientation classes. So we do look at those trends, and then that leads to the discussion of, do we need to eliminate certain classes? So that's a discussion that we're having on an annual basis, because expansion of things sometimes means that more things don't run because there's more choices. So we monitor those things and determine what's the best course of action moving forward. When we work with our instructional leadership teams and our curriculum coordinating council to make those decisions. So the elimination of a course or the addition of a course goes through the ILT, it goes through the CCC, and then ultimately it comes to the Board of Education if we're making recommendations.
And that's part of strategy 1.4 as well. So I will be bringing some recommendations in June as memos for the 25-26 school year. We're looking at courses to add, but then also the conversation is, well, what course is this taking place of? So it's more streamlined for our students to ensure that the courses have a viable chance to run in the future. some exciting things happening. So I'm going to move on to posting. So this is where then we move into hiring. So today we had our administrative team, our Director of Human Resources conducted her training on hiring, and then I worked with the team as well to go over this presentation and talking about our hiring teams. So postings, and I broke it down by area. So for administrative postings, right now, we had just recently hired 2 assistant principals. In the board packet is the director for multilingual services. And then we have 2 open positions, curriculum director for English and academy coordinator for Central Campus. This next slide is anything related to special services, so special education. We are in need, like I said, of a speech pathologist. We've had a retirement, so a transition coordinator, growth within our AVAC Transition Center. We've seen an increase at the West Campus of our freshman class coming in with services that they need, so would be delivered in a co-taught environment or instructional environment. So that's the increase at West and different areas. So these are all related to special services. And then I just want to point out too, some of them are unfilled from last year. So the River Valley Detention Center special education teacher is unfilled from last year. The social worker from Pathways is unfilled from last year. And we did have a previous special ed position from Pathways that was unfilled from last year. In regards to classroom teaching positions, these are our postings for the upcoming school year. You can see a trend with math, some social science, and then if you notice, everything says bilingual preferred. We would love to hire a math teacher that is Spanish speaking and has those credentials, because that's good for our kids, especially with our area, with our students that are coming in with those needs. So just to bring diversity to our teaching staff. So these are our classroom teacher positions for next year. And then I'll move on to projected retirements. So you see again, so for this upcoming school year, we have a big pool of teachers retiring. We also have, 2 years in a row. So we'll have a big group of teachers that I have put in for retirement. And then we have, it goes down, but more teachers have time to put in for those requests. And then we'll have some shifts with administration as well. That's my presentation. I just, again, want to thank everybody that's been involved with it, even our counselor in the office or in the audience. Like, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to put all this together. So I want to say thank you to anyone, and I can open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
So our next presentation is our school links recommendation. So if I could ask Dr. Kelly Gilbert, our Director of Student Support Services, who will lead us through this presentation.
Good evening, President Stiff, Dr. Guzman, members of the board, and senior leadership. Tonight I stand before you seeking your approval, essentially, for our transition from our current post-secondary platform, Naviance, to the platform of School Links. We also have with us Mike McInerney. He is our account representative with School Links, who's been instrumental in helping us guide our processes, our thoughts, and our ability to come before you today. I would be remiss if I also did not thank our counselors at both of our campuses, as well as Pathways, our counselor leadership team, our student ambassadors who volunteered their time for our student test drive, our tech department, and many others that have helped come together to bring forward this presentation tonight. So with that being said, tiny print. We'll get through this here. So you may recall, but if not, to provide a brief history of Naviance, what brought us to the decision in 2019 we adopted Naviance that was in alignment with Strategy 4, specifically Action Plan 4 as well. That was during the COVID period of the adoption of that platform. We've since encountered some limitations to the implementation and use of the Naviance post-secondary platform. Some of those limitations listed include the lack of that student-friendly, student-first design, ability to be able to get real-time data. So as students engage with the platform, that data that tells us what they're doing and not doing. Also, things have evolved since 2019. I know for myself, even considering back to high school, there weren't a lot of things that talked about careers and colleges. And now that is our conversation about what post-secondary education looks like. Naviance is very limited in the ability for us to really be able to engage, and more importantly, our students to engage in opportunities that help them consider what comes after high school. Is that a 2-year school, 4-year school? Is it careers, military, et cetera? Additionally, we've seen the ability, going along with the data, to look at the interactions with work-based learning. And we know with our CEO program, our internships, that is definitely something that's coming forward as a need for us. How we track certifications and endorsements students earn. FAFSA, I know it's a scary word right now. We're working through that as well. But really, we have to rely on other outside partners to get that data. And so in looking at this, that changing landscape, you may have heard of the POWER Act, the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act, which also brings us the PACE framework, that post-secondary career exploration framework. Those indicators by grade level, we have to align, do a better job at aligning our efforts, our work with our counselors and the counseling push-in support and within advisory classes, within Freshmen on Track, working collaboratively with our curriculum directors and how these framework components also integrate into those curricular areas. Supporting students and really allowing them to engage in what their career interests are. What does that look like with respect to the skills, knowledge, and aptitudes that they need to consider what is the appropriate post-secondary platform for them. Also, we have a wonderful association of the Chicago Area Directors of Curriculum and Assessment. They're a very active group in the education world, and they also have had many conversations around post-secondary platforms, and many of them are also choosing to move away from Naviance and adopt School Links. Most importantly, as we look at this big framework, we need to align it to our work, right? And we know that this aligns very much to our new strategic plan, specifically Strategy 3, implementing that holistic approach to supporting students through family, community, and school engagement with those supports, flexible learning opportunities, ultimately that improves student attendance and academic performance. Really getting into that strategy, the specific result of developing and strengthening the academic and developmental college and career readiness skills that they need through this personalized approach to what comes for them in that post-secondary plan. So with that being said, here were some indicators. I'm not going to read all of them here. That is listed within our strategic plan. But most importantly, our recommendation. We would like to, beginning after your hopeful approval this evening, to begin really aligning our work, working with our technology team and a project management team that has been informally meeting to prepare for this presentation tonight. We'd like to, in April, train our counselors with the intention of, in May, working with this year's current juniors as well as seniors to onboard them to the new platform so that they do not, especially our current juniors, have any interruption in their college application process, because we know that Common App for a lot of early decision schools opens over the summer. So there'll be a very targeted and streamlined approach for that group of students, with onboarding full for all 9th and 10th graders, as well as any 11th graders or 12th graders that through the conversation may have not onboarded in the new school year in 24-25. School Links has been amazing with their project management approach. outlining very specific structures and opportunities to make sure that as a district, we don't miss a beat in this process either. So there's a project management team as some of the responsibilities and roles that are listed here. The members that serve on the team are each one of us, right? We're our district curriculum directors, we have some counselors on the team, building administrators, et cetera, our tech team and such, to make sure that we're getting all elements of this process in a very comprehensive manner. The funding for this in year one, which begins upon your approval, is $97,700, which has been allocated through ARP ESSER 3. Next year, the funding of the $97,000 will continue through the 24-25 school year. So then beginning in the 25-26 school year, we would have an ongoing cost of $87,700, which right now we're anticipating continuing the funding stream through Title I, the blending and braiding of funds, right? Blending Title I, II, III, as well as our IDEA grants. So there's been a few sequence of events I've highlighted already as we've talked about a few things where ILT, our counselors have begun looking at this, received presentations from Mike McInerney from School Links. We had an amazing student feedback group that were, almost all of them were like, oh my goodness, I wish I had this. They're like, it's so student friendly. We only had 2 students, I do have to acknowledge them, that were like, I like Naviance. And I said, are you feeling well tonight? They really felt that that platform worked for them. And so, but we had freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all part of that test drive that all felt that it was very easy to use. They were able to navigate it well, and they actually learned something through a demo account. Now, how awesome will it be when it's their actual account and everything gets tied in and interacted with our student information system. And so after the board meeting and your hopeful approval, we have a tentatively scheduled kickoff meeting for this Friday where we can get and jump right in. As Mike may allude, I keep saying, Mike, what questions am I not asking? And he's like, you've already started. And so we've already begun a lot of these conversations because we know how important it is, especially for this year's seniors, that class of 2025. We can't let this drop through their application process. So a very targeted approach to them, including working with Christine and our counselors for our seniors, collecting their and building our alumni network, which is an awesome, another feature within School Links that's pretty amazing, right? We'll be able to get their information, and as we have what schools they attend, we could push things out that say, hey, you went here, or you entered this career, this trade, and be able to pull them in as well to access some of benefits for our students. And then we have our juniors, really working with them, onboarding them, ensuring that they're getting in the system, making sure that they're beginning those career interests and that we have resources available to them. Christine as well, I have to give a shout out, has built a website for us to be able to have all the resources accessible. So once we have the things that we're doing, her team has been amazing with helping us begin to navigate that as one platform of information, having physical things, logging things into their Google Classrooms, et cetera. Some basic things that our students and our counselors have shared is how do you link your Common App account, right? How to add your applications, how to request letters of recommendation, transcripts, et cetera. So we're planning ahead to try to make sure that we have everything available for our students. Additionally, we're thinking about having some office hours, both virtual and in person, for students to come in, families to come in, and be able to receive that in-person support in case they can't figure out on their own how to do it. So we want to make sure we're available, making sure on Institute Day we're providing that information for all of our staff, and for our staff, how do I complete a letter of recommendation? What do I have to do to be able to do that? Some basic things that they have as well. Everything will be single sign-on, so will be integrated within our technology department. Again, in August, revisiting our class of 2025 and making sure that they don't have any questions and we're not missing anything with respect to their work. And as I indicated, making sure the rest of our students begin that onboarding shortly thereafter in September. Here, for your reference, are a few districts that also currently use School Links. You hopefully recognize several of them up there. Lockport, Indian Prairie, Naperville 203, Chicago Public Schools, Valley View. So many of our surrounding districts have also made this transition from Naviance to School Links. So we feel well supported. They've been very helpful. And I know some things with One Goal that we have a partnership with, connecting and making sure that that feedback is provided to us so that what they learned along the way, they're sharing with us, so we could also benefit from that as well. So, questions? That was a lot of information. We also have a full set of slides to go over further if more information is needed. But, we're
Dr.
ready.
Gilbert, I do have just one question. I know that you did indicate like an August rollout to parents. I cannot express enough how important getting this tool in parents' hands will be for the students in the district. So I'd like to see some thoughtful rollout for families. I think it's time well spent.
Thank you for adding that. We did just meet as a 3.1 team this week, and we've identified a few indicators that we would like to roll and incrementally onboard with a specific concentration for our freshmen and sophomores and our parents, so making sure we have a well thought out plan, and we have some folks working on some of that behind the scenes now as well, so thank you. Which is also another feature that Naviance doesn't provide. Parents will each have a login to the School Links account, which is pretty cool.
I have been teaching many lessons from School Links all year, and I kept thinking every time I do it, I'm like, I wish I had this when I was in high school, and it really is an amazing tool, so I'm glad that we have it there. I just kept on thinking, like, I should somehow get my login and work with my daughter, but now she'll be here next year, she'll be able to do it, but it really is an amazing program, so I'm glad that it's here.
Thank you for that feedback.
Do colleges have the opportunity to, I guess, I'd hate to use the word solicit, but like to send stuff to the kids that are,
No.
no?
No, they can interact with an approved platform with our counselors to schedule college visits, so there's some two-way
Right.
communication with that. But they cannot go in and select students to highlight information to. What School Links does have embedded in it is an AI, right? Really cool feature that if I am a student who has identified architecture as a career interest, and we have a school coming with that major, it connects those features. So if I've identified that and favorited it as a career interest of mine, and we know that Drury University is coming, I'm using personal reference here, it will send in information to the students that that school will be on site for a campus visit or be planning something with the college counselors. The same thing with our industry partners, our CEO program. We're going to hopefully pilot this summer the internship feature. Again, I said I'm a student that's interested in welding, and there is a career fair that's focusing on welding. It will link that student and that career fair together and automatically push that information out to them. There's also a customized feed in the student portal, so as students interact more and more with the system, they have a feed that I'm visualizing in here down the left side of their screen that will populate things that link to the things that they've identified are favorites of theirs. So again, as we have internship, other work-based learning, field trips, et cetera, all of those things will start to populate in their feed, and it connects to them. It's not some random thing that's there, but it's really very specific, almost like our social media, right, and all of that kind of thing. You talk about something, and next thing you know, you have an advertisement about it, but these are actual real events that are taking place. Any other questions or comments?
I just want to thank Kelly and the team for all the work they did. I'm a parent of a junior, and so I asked a lot of specific questions of everybody, and they responded, and I know I'm feeling very comfortable, like this is the right decision. because it can be a little scary, because when do you do this? When do you make a significant change like this? And I think this is the best thing for all of our students based on what we looked at. And then the action plan that they've thoughtfully put together, and along with the feedback that they'll incorporate from tonight, I have no doubt that we're going to have a successful implementation. And this is really something that is it's needed, because we're doing so many awesome things, especially in that career readiness and experience. And we have no good way of like putting that data someplace that we can pull it out so that we can learn from that data to improve and track things. So I think it's going to be good for the student user, the parent user, and then us as a organization system. So thank you for all the work that was done. And that concludes our superintendent reports.
So now we'll go into action items. A, biannual review of closed session minutes and recordings, January 2022 to July 2022. So may I have a motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim record for those closed session meetings of the Board of Education from January 2022 through July 2022?
Ms. Stiff, can I ask an amendment for that? Can we vote separately for January 2022 through April 2022, and then May through July?
So we need an amendment for the removal of minutes for January 2022 to April 2022, to clarify.
Separate vote, yeah.
Separate
Two
vote.
votes.
Yep.
Oh, it's 2022.
Yep. Was that a motion?
You just
Just never mind. I apologize.
So we can strike the amendment.
Strike it.
Strike the amendment.
Thank you.
Strike the amendment, please.
All right, so may I have a motion?
Second.
Questions, concerns? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Abstain.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
And 1, 2.
Now I need a motion to find that the need for confidentiality exists for all remaining closed session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Action item B, 2024 to 2025 staffing recommendations. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Action item C, resolution of Township High School District Number 204, Will County, Illinois, directing the transfer of $34,562,945 from the Educational Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, $21,062,900 from the Transportation Fund to the Operations and Maintenance Fund, and $86,134,464 from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions, comments?
And I would just add that the transfer of revenue will be used to support the master facilities plan approved by the Board of Education.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Action item D, course edition, American Sign Language 3 and 4. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second, or you go second. We're just so excited about this.
Questions, comments?
Just thank you to students that advocate and share their voice, and the teachers that support them.
Roll call.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Action item E, 2024 summer hours.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the summer hours. Change, is that correct? And that amendment would be, I think, based on the humanity of 2 weeks with 12-hour workdays is not a good use of our time in the summer. And so I'm proposing to just remove those 12-hour days and make them 10-hour days.
May I have a second?
Second.
Question, comments?
Thank you.
There are plenty of opportunities for you guys to work an extra 4 hours. It doesn't have to be on those 2 weeks.
Thank you. I know I speak for everybody. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Action item F, IHSA membership renewal for Joliet Central and Joliet West. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes. Action item G, agreement with School Links Agreement and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Question, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Action item H, agreement with Boys and Girls Club of Joliet and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question, comments?
I have a question. I know that criminal background checks are included as part of their process. There's no language about Faith's Law. Is that something that could be amended to there to ensure that their staff also have Faith's Law since they'd be working with high school age students?
We could look into that. I don't know if Faith's Law is reaching to that entity, but we can ask them for more clarification of what they're doing with that. We absolutely can talk to that with them. So Dr. Gilbert works with that partnership, so we'll reach out to them and make sure we have that information. And if there needs to be amendment because we're not comfortable with that, we can bring that back to the board.
Okay, I'm gonna have the same question for the Hillman contract as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can require them to ask those questions. Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Action item I, agreement between Hillman Pediatrics Therapy and Joliet Township High School District 204. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions, comments?
We will, Diane will talk to Jamila to ensure that we're directing them to do the same thing. Which they may already be doing, but we'll
Right,
verify
it's
it.
just not identified in the contract, so.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Roll call, please.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Abstain due to potential conflict of interest?
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Namir?
Yes.
Action item J, memorandum of understanding between Joliet Township High School and Joliet Township Government. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Abstain?
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Action item K, bid results, computer copy paper. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Question, comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn? Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Oh, what color paper?
Stop it. Stop it. Action item L, 2024-2025, student fee and refund schedule. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Question, comments?
Yes, this is a recommendation to approve the 24-25 fee schedule. The recommendation is to maintain our current fee schedule with no increases. Also, for summer, we do plan to waive the summer school fee for students that are free or reduced and who will successfully complete summer school.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes. Action item M, technology lease agreement. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question, comments?
Yes, just continuing with the one-to-one initiative. This is a recommendation to purchase and release computers for our incoming freshmen for next school year. And they will maintain this device for 4 years. We changed that process about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, should I say.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes. Action item N, resolution authorizing intervention in various Will County Board of Review appeals. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question, comments?
Yes, this recommendation gives Dr. Guzman the authority to authorize the law firm of Roan, Jaworski, and Preston to act as the legal representative for PTAP cases with the county.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Action item O, resolution authorizing preparation for the 24-25 budget. That's in policy 410. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Action item P, second reading of policies. Number 1, 190 on student behavior. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Question, comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Action item Q, personnel reports, 1 through 14. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Guerrero-Numer?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Action item R, student discipline recommendation.
After receiving and deliberating the information contained in the hearing officer's report, the Board of Education is charged with deciding whether removing the child from his or her learning environment is in the best interest of the school, what the rationale is for the specific duration of the recommended expulsion, whether all appropriate and available behavioral and disciplinary interventions were exhausted, and whether to continue the presence in school would either A, pose a threat to the safety of other students, staff, or members of the school community, or B, substantially disrupt, impede, or interfere with the operation of the school. The Board of Education must then convene into public session to formally vote on the motion to expel, if the expulsion is the consensus arrived during executive session. I make a motion under case number W232411 to recommend expulsion until January of 2026 and placement at Lincoln School.
Have a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lynn?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerrero Namir?
Yes.
Dr. Huntington?
Yes.
Mr. Coffey?
Yes.
Mrs. Stiff?
Yes.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Item 9, unfinished business. There's none? Okay. Item 10, new business. None? Item 11, board reports.
I have some.
Are you going to go first?
Oh, you go first.
We were both at the foundation trivia contest. I have to give kudos to Ms. Newmeyer, who wore a tutu for her team. It was a very nice event, and there was lots of people there, and it was really great to be out for that. Also, I learned from the speech team at Joliet West, they are doing a preview of their state report tomorrow evening, and I'm going to go and attend and check that out. So.
It's, for the group interpretation, it's at 7 PM, and if you'd like to go, it's in the auditorium, and you can enter through door 5. And I've heard nothing but awesome things. I think it's the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Always a Disney thing like
Yeah.
that. Kristen Blake. Thanks. Go ahead. Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah. Anybody else want to go? No? Okay. All right. Yes, and thank you to all the volunteers for Joliet Township High School's trivia night. They're all here. So, yeah. Also, I just want to thank Zonta Club of Joliet for everything that they did with their fearless females at Joliet Central. Yesterday, it was this week, that was pretty awesome. And just all the scholarship work and just the community work that everybody at Zonta does, we are very appreciative of. And Christine Schlisman and Helen Hester Ross are in charge of that. I do want to say, again, happy Social Workers Month. Thank you to all of our social workers at Joliet Township High School. We appreciate you. Next month, April, is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Guardian Angel Community Services will have their walk a mile in their shoes, because men and women, boys and girls, are victims of sexual violence. And by the time a child is 18 years old, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will either be sexually assaulted or abused. And that includes many of our students here at Joliet Township High School and across the world. I want to thank Principal Parker and Dr. Guzman for attending last year's Walk a Mile. That meant a lot to Guardian Angel and everybody in the community. Also, Child Abuse Prevention Month. So, people talk about resilience all the time. What makes a child resilient after trauma? And we know statistically, if they have one caregiver that goes above and beyond in their life and sticks with them, they're going to do better. They have a chance. And sometimes those caregivers are not in their own biological family. When my brothers and I were in high school, or just growing up, it was our teachers, it was our lunch ladies, it was our security guards. Literally, my lunch lady was my foster mom. And sometimes when I'm up here or I'm in a board meeting of any kind, I'm very grateful for everyone's patience and grace with me. And as a trauma therapist, I get to see every day the work that Joliet Township High School does for our students. And if it wasn't for all the after-school programs, the in-school interventions, the transportation we provide, we wouldn't have, my siblings and I wouldn't have had a chance. I was talking to a councilman the other day, and he talked about just how important it was for him to have gone to Joliet Township High Schools and the opportunities it afforded him, and all the after-school programs. And now that my brothers are business owners and they work for unions, and we all, have homes and jobs, we couldn't have done all of that without all the teachers and staff that help us. And for the teachers and the staff that call 1-800-25-ABUSE every day, and you're appreciated, it's necessary. There's a song, it's called Concrete Angel. It's by Miss, I can't think of her name, McLaughlin right now. Sarah McLaughlin. If you guys get an opportunity to listen to that song, it's important that we call, even if we're not sure, 1-800-25-ABUSE. And I just want to say also, Andy, this would have been his 39th year. Andy Lopez, Laura Lopez's wife, is about to retire. They are the people that made sure I got to go to prom, which I still remember. They bought me my prom dress. They took care of my tickets, all of that. And I can't even imagine being somewhere for 39 years and giving your life and your love to this district and its children. You're appreciated. So, yeah, thank you for everyone that changes children's lives every day.
I think April is also, is it Teacher Awareness Month as well? Something like that?
Teacher
I think it is.
appreciation.
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that. Yes, Teacher Appreciation Month. I attended the Three Rivers meeting that was held in Frankfurt. Yep. And I'm sure I've done some other things. I just can't recall right now.
It was a good presentation, too. It was a good presentation.
Yep.
So,
Maybe mention Pathways to Profession.
She got
Okay,
that.
okay, yeah.
I wrote it. So I'm not a board member, but I will give a report. I just want to say thank you to Michelle in her other role, Mrs. Stiff, in her other role for the Pathways to Profession and her team. I had the ability, and Christine also went, and we had some counselors that went. Our district alone, I believe we had about 150 students there, and we weren't alone. I think there were about 800 students. Yes, there. It was held at the Romeo Recreation Center.
Athletic.
Athletic Center, and it was amazing. And the community partners from Will County, as well as outside of Will County, were just great. And our students were inquisitive. In fact, we were standing next to each other, and a young lady came up to us, and she didn't know, I don't think, who either one of us were, and she said, "Who do I talk to about being a teacher?" And I'm like, "Where do you go to school?" And she said, "Joliet West." And I said, "You can talk to me." And so I think next year we'll definitely have a table during that time to talk about that. But it was just, the kids were so engaged, and the partners were so excited. So just congratulations on a wonderful event. And it was truly a great event, so.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
I also, this was talked about too, but I was able to talk to Rotary today about the CEO program and do a presentation, and I'm scheduled to do one at Kiwanis in a couple weeks. And it was very well received. In fact, by the time I got back to my office, I had an individual who emailed me and said, "I want an intern now for this. And I can host the CEO class whenever you need it." So that was just wonderful. I talked to a lot of community members, and that was great, so I'm very thankful to that. Also, I want to thank Scott Slocum for spending about 3 hours with us last week. We did a tour of our CTE program, so thank you to our principals as well as Christine. And our students were wonderful, and they asked a lot of questions too, and there was some great interaction there. And then I believe I'm going to be talking further this week on Friday. I think around 7:40, Christine, I'm going on to talk about our CTE programs too. You know, it's just, I think we're being recognized and we keep talking about it, but one of the things that makes us unique is that we're a comprehensive high school for career and technical education. We have opportunities here that many other schools don't, and it's in our strategic plan, and I share this all the time. I live in this community, but I choose to live in this community and send my kids here because our programs are second to none. So thank you to the board for supporting those programs, and thank you to all of our staff that keep working on improving our programs, because the opportunities that our kiddos in Joliet have are amazing. So thank you. Oh, you can. I'll talk about it. It's Thursday, right? Okay. So I also, I think it would be helpful to know too, Mrs. Stiff, as well as our Board of Education, has really asked that we work and partner with our local legislators, our local municipalities. Mrs. Stiff did a recent presentation with a subgroup of the Joliet City Council specific to the issues involved with vaping. And there's some new legislation that is being worked on and signed on Thursday. Yes. And Mrs. Stiff has been asked to come down and speak on behalf of that work. And I think it demonstrates the importance of our schools and municipalities working together. And our data is showing that we've seen, while it doesn't feel that way, I know, but our data, we've been tracking it, and there have been some improvements since the city of Joliet has been cracking down on underage sales of vaping cartridges and things of that sort. So we really all need to work together, and we're going to work on plans for next year on how do we further educate our students, our parents, all of us, on the dangers of vaping and what to look for, because something I think we all need to be aware of is there's marketing directly to kids. And if you search things, you know, there's vapes out there that look like highlighters, this one is amazing to me, strings of hoodies that serve as vapes. Pens and all the different things, and so we need to work against that. So thankful to the board, thank you to President Stiff for representing us in Springfield, and I think it just demonstrates what we can accomplish when we all work together.
Are there any other board reports? No. Okay. Item 12, announcements or public comment, or in public comment.
We do have one public comment.
Okay. You want to call their name?
Oh, sure. Fernanda Arias.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. So at this time, members of the public may make comments to the Board of Education on any item concerning the district. Please note this is not the opportunity or the venue for the Board of Education members to engage in a conversation or provide responses. The Board of Education respects and values the information delivered to us during public comment. Your comment should be directed to the Board of Education, and all in attendance must conduct themselves with respect and civility towards others. You must conclude your comments in 3 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to address the board. Is this on? Okay. So as you may recall, my name is Fernanda Ariza. I'm the new SNAP-Ed educator for the University of Illinois Extension in Will County. I was here last month inviting District 204 to join SNAP-Ed in the fight against obesity in our community. Since this collaboration is yet to occur, today I'm here to gently remind the board of this invitation and to hopefully help push the needle a little further towards developing this partnership between us. I have here an article that I'd like to share with you. It was published by the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service a couple weeks ago. It is for you to enjoy in the comfort of your own space and time. My hope is that after reading this article, something within you sparks and inspires you to reach out and begin working with us to develop a similar project for your district this year. Briefly, the article describes 4 projects made by 4 different school districts in the nation who received an award for their trailblazing efforts in creating a healthier lunch menu, which significantly reduced levels of sodium for their students. Sodium is one of those ingredients that oftentimes goes unnoticed, but it's in everything we eat, and if we don't monitor our daily consumption of sodium, we are at risk of developing hypertension, for which there is no cure. Alarmingly, Will County currently has higher rates of high blood pressure compared to the state and the nation. So how can we work together to guarantee that the meals and rewards we're giving our students stay within the healthy ranges of sodium for a child? How can we create an environment where the district, the teachers, the food staff, the parents, and the students are all involved in making the healthy choice, the easy choice, the first choice? As part of the University of Illinois, we are here to offer free continuing education for your staff to educate them on these important topics. We can also help you strengthen your wellness policies, apply for grants to get smoothie bars, or connect you with local community gardens to establish farm-to-school programs. By working together, we could revolutionize your students' entire lunchroom experience to make it a healthier and more educational one. There's actually an amazing initiative going on right now called the Chicago Region Trees Initiative, where millions of dollars are being given to communities of high need to equip them with native species of trees and bushes that require very little maintenance and could provide nourishing foods like berries and nuts, which would offer a very beautiful and educational experience for your staff and students. This is one of many partnerships that SNAP-Ed could help facilitate if interest was expressed. And I'd like to end this speech with the following quote from the article I just shared with you. For many children, school meals are the healthiest, most nutritious meals in their day-to-day lives. Investing in innovative, high-quality school meals that students enjoy is one of many actions that can be taken to improve nutrition for young Americans. Thank you for your attention, and I hope to hear from you soon. I do have this other resource specifically for your school nutrition professionals. It delineates trainings and continuing education our agency can offer for free.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Thank you all for being here this evening. We did well in terms